The arrow missed Jake Carter's head by inches. He dropped flat against the rocky ground, pulse hammering as 3 more shafts whistled overhead. 50 meters away, a massive figure in battered armor fought against impossible odds. 6 orc warriors circled her, weapons drawn, shouting in their guttural language. The lone fighter was female, nearly 8 feet tall with green skin and tusks, but she was wounded and failing. Jake had no reason to help. The war between humans and orcs had cost him everything. But watching 6 against 1 twisted something in his gut that 20 years of soldiering hadn't killed. He grabbed his rifle and moved. 2 precise shots dropped the archers. The remaining 4 orcs spun toward him, confused, and that hesitation cost them. The female warrior surged forward with a roar, her massive blade taking one attacker's head clean off. Jake fired again, clipping another in the shoulder. The last 2 broke and ran. When the dust settled, the orc woman stood trembling, blood streaming from a deep gash across her ribs. Her eyes met his, golden and fierce. "Why?" she growled in broken human tongue. "Why help Cora?" Jake lowered his weapon. "Seemed like you needed it." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded once, pressed a bloodied fist to her chest in salute, and limped into the forest. Jake watched her disappear, then headed home, thinking he'd never see her again. He was wrong. The royal guards arrived at dawn, 20 orcs in ceremonial armor surrounding his small house like a military occupation. Their captain, a scarred veteran with iron rings through his tusks, handed Jake a scroll sealed with black wax. "By order of King Urdak, you will come." Jake's hand went to his sidearm. "I'm retired. Tell your king I'm not interested in politics." The captain's expression didn't change. "The female you saved yesterday was Cora Bloodhand, daughter of the king and general of the Eastern armies. You invoked the ancient law of life debt. You will marry her, or you will be declared enemy of the kingdom and hunted until death." The words hit like a punch. Jake stared at the scroll, his mind racing. "Marriage? I saved her life. I didn't propose." The captain's eyes were cold. "Orc law does not ask your opinion. You claimed her life as yours when you shed blood in her defense. The debt must be honored. You have 1 hour to gather your belongings." The orc capital was a fortress carved from a mountain, walls of black stone rising like teeth from the earth. Jake was escorted through corridors filled with warriors who stared at him with open hostility. In the throne room, King Urdak sat like a monument, his massive frame draped in furs and bone. Beside him stood Cora, cleaned and armored, her face unreadable. "Human," the king rumbled. "You're either very brave or very foolish." Jake met his gaze. "I've been called both, your majesty." A laugh like grinding stone echoed through the hall. "My daughter was exiled because she refused to marry Warlord Grath. She believed our people could find peace with yours instead of endless war. I called her a dreamer and a fool. Then you, a human veteran, risked your life to save hers." Perhaps she was right. Before Jake could respond, the massive doors crashed open. A brood of an orc, even larger than the king, strode in wearing spiked armor and carrying a warhammer that could crush a car. "I challenge this decree," Grath snarled. "The human is weak. He is not worthy of Cora or of alliance. I invoke trial by combat for her hand." The king's expression darkened. "The law allows it." Grath turned to Jake, lips pulled back in a vicious grin. "Tomorrow at dawn, human, you will die, and Cora will be mine." Cora found Jake in the barracks that night. She moved silently for someone so large, sitting across from him without asking permission. "You cannot win against Grath in strength," she said quietly. "But you saved my life with strategy, not muscle. I will teach you how orcs fight, and you will teach me why you fight. They trained until midnight." She showed him pressure points, how to use momentum against size, where orc armor was weakest. In return, Jake explained human tactics, misdirection, patience, exploiting pride. As they rested, Cora spoke. "I was testing my father when I refused Grath. I wanted to prove that honor and courage matter more than tradition. Then you appeared, a human who proved me right." Jake looked at her, really looked, past the tusks and the scars and the otherness. I lost my whole squad to orc raiders 5 years ago. Swore I'd never trust your kind again. But yesterday, all I saw was a soldier fighting for her life. Maybe we're both trying to prove something. Cora's hand, massive and calloused, reached out slowly. Jake gripped it. Then we prove it together, she said. The arena was ancient stone, packed with thousands of orcs baying for blood. Jake stood in the center, feeling impossibly small. Grath entered to thunderous cheers, his warhammer resting on one shoulder like a toy. I will make this quick, human, he growled. Your broken body will remind Cora of her place. The horn sounded. Grath charged like a landslide. Jake rolled aside at the last second, the hammer smashing stone where he'd stood. He struck at the warlord's knee, his blade skittering off armor. Grath backhanded him, and Jake flew 6 feet, ribs screaming. Blood filled his mouth. He could hear Cora shouting, but the words were lost in the roar. Grath advanced, grinning. Jake scrambled up, vision swimming. He couldn't win this way. The warlord swung again, and this time Jake didn't dodge. He caught the hammer's haft with both hands, letting the momentum spin him around. Using Grath's own strength, he redirected the blow into the warlord's own leg. Bone crunched. Grath howled and stumbled. Jake saw his opening and raised his hand. I yield. The arena went silent. Grath stared, confused. Jake's voice rang out clear. By orc law, I yield this combat, but I invoke the right of wisdom challenge. If Grath is truly worthy of leadership, let him prove it, not with strength, but with truth. The king rose slowly. It was an old law, nearly forgotten, but still valid. Grath couldn't refuse without being declared a coward. Speak your challenge, King Urdok commanded. Jake stepped forward, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Grath, you claim to want Cora as your bride, but your warriors were the ones who attacked her in the forest. I saw their clan markings. You sent assassins after the king's daughter. The crowd erupted. Grath's face twisted with rage. Lies! You have no proof. Jake pointed to Cora. Check the arrows that struck her armor. They bear the forge mark of Grath's personal weaponsmith. He tried to kill her and blame it on rivals, then use her death to seize power and push for total war with humanity. That's not strength. That's treason. King Urdok's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Guards, retrieve the arrows from my daughter's armor. Now. The silence stretched like a wire ready to snap. When the guard returned, he held 3 arrows up for all to see. The markings were clear. Grath's roar of rage confirmed everything. He lunged for Jake, but the king's personal guard cut him down before he made it 3 steps. The warlord collapsed, gasping, as soldiers chained him. King Urdok descended from his throne and stood before Jake and Cora. You have proven your worth, human, not with strength alone, but with courage, wisdom, and honor. I accept this union as the first alliance marriage between our peoples. Let it be a bridge to peace. Cora took Jake's hand, and this time he didn't hesitate. The crowd's roar shook the mountain, no longer a cry for blood, but something new, something like hope. Jake looked up at his unlikely bride and grinned despite the pain. So, what do we do now? Cora smiled, her tusks gleaming. Now we prove them all right.